to the Full Moon Supper Club. My name is Suzanne Cote-Curtiss, and I'm going to take you today behind the scenes to what it takes to put on a little dinner party, have some fun in the kitchen. One of the things that I like to do is to save time by using devices like slow cookers and crock pots and things like that. So I'm going to show you how you can be in two places at once, basically. Right now at home, I've got some stuff cooking, and I'm in here in the studio with my friend Joni from the Writers Studio here in White River Junction, and we're going to do some cooking today together.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I could use help being in two places at once.
Yeah, couldn't we all?
Yeah.
So the first thing we're doing is we're heating up some hot water, because the recipe that we're preparing in the studio today is some Provencal Stuffed Peppers. So Provencal Stuffed Peppers. These peppers I actually grew in my garden.
My goodness.
Yep.
I'm
and
impressed.
well, I try. And so we're going to prepare the peppers first, because that's what's going to hold all the good stuff.
Okay.
And one of the things you do is you blanch the peppers, and that means you just put them into boiling water.
All right.
And let them cook a little bit, about
All
3
right.
minutes, and then we'll put them into the pan. And then we'll switch pans, and we'll start cooking up the vegetables that are going to go inside the peppers.
It sounds good.
All right. So
Sounds manageable.
yeah, yeah. So the thing that I usually do here is I just cut out the top of the pepper, because you want to try and keep its shape so that it will cup the vegetables.
Okay.
And I'm going to cut it in half. And then I've got a bowl down here to put the seeds in.
All right.
And here's a knife
You
for
want
you.
me to de-seed for you?
Sure.
All right. My husband usually doesn't let me have knives like this, but we'll see. For good reason.
So, as I was saying earlier, right now at home, the pork is actually roasting in my crock pot. Yep.
That'll be delicious.
Yep. And that recipe is something I made up. Pork roast with pear and ginger. And it's actually very simple. Just uses loin-end pork roast, bone-in, salt and pepper, olive oil. I found this ready-made marinade that has pear and ginger, and it's all organic.
Wow.
And so it saves some time, but adds a lot of flavor. And I seared the pork in a pan with olive oil first,
Okay.
the fat side down, and then I put some salt and pepper on before I put it in, and then I placed that into the crock pot, sprinkled some ginger, minced ginger on top, and then poured the marinade over that.
When you say sear, what does that mean exactly?
That means you're sealing in the juices.
Oh, okay.
Now, I didn't sear it all the way around. I just did it on the fat side of the pork.
Okay.
And so that'll cook in the slow cooker for about 6 hours. Basically, be ready when it's time to eat dinner.
Wow.
And the one thing we'll do when we get home is I'll actually take the sauce and thicken it. So the pork will create all these wonderful juices as it's cooking.
All right.
And you take the pork out and you let it rest. Cover it up. That's what it means, to let it rest. And then you take the juices and you cook those down to intensify the flavors. So we'll be doing that closer to the time for dinner.
Yeah. It's nice to see recipes for the crock pot. It's every working woman's best friend.
Yes. I recently had the pleasure of seeing the author of this cookbook, Robert Hildebrand, in action.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, up in Barrie, Vermont. He's the head chef at the Three Stallions Inn in Randolph, and he's written a wonderful cookbook series about slow cookers with his sister. And I've been having a lot of fun, changing up recipes.
Sure.
And, also just discovering, like, you could cook squash in a crock pot. Just slice it up, peel it, throw it in, and you've got something ready, a few hours.
That's one of the things I've already learned. Suzanne and I don't even know each other that well yet, but we've had some fun visits and meals together, and I've really taken away how it is relatively easy to make these wonderful meals that I would have been so intimidated before. And that has been such a great lesson.
Well, and Joni has two wonderful daughters
That's true. They are wonderful.
Quite curious and expert in the kitchen themselves.
And challenging, since they never eat the same thing. So. But
it is fun to have kids in the kitchen. But sometimes it helps to have someone else around just to kind of change things up. Yeah. We all get sort of stuck in our ruts.
Oh, absolutely. I found, too, though, the more involved they are with the cooking, the more likely they are to eat what is made. And so it's been not only a fun family project, some of the things that Suzanne has introduced to us, but the kids have eaten better because of it.
Yeah, I remember.
As have I.
We played this game called Food Sleuth, and I cooked something, and they had to guess what the ingredients were. And, you know, some of the ingredients were like beets and carrots.
I couldn't believe I walked into the kitchen and my children were actually eating beets. Truly. I thought I was in the wrong kitchen. But they loved it. It was fun. Yeah. Great way to introduce them to new tastes and really have fun with the food.
Mm-hmm. And that's really something that's kind of fundamental to me. I, come from a family of people that like to get together for meals with each other and talk. And, I had the good fortune to study in France when I was in college, and I lived with a French family. And, it wasn't like Julia Child cooking by any means, as much as I'm inspired. And probably those after-school reruns of Julia Child had a lot to do with where I am today. But it was actually living with a family and sort of getting to know their daily rhythm and how they would shop daily.
Yeah.
You knew your baker and your fishmonger and your vegetable purveyor. And it's just really nice. I find being in the Upper Valley, I'm getting the chance to sort of live that kind of life again. The summer squash are from Cedar Mountain Farm over in Heartland. My husband and I get a community-supported agricultural basket from them every week. Actually, it was great. I'd pick up a basket the next day, come to Joni's and do a cooking class.
Yeah.
That was really fun. The
really
onions,
great for us.
They grew the onions. I grew the eggplant and the zucchini and the tomatoes. And there's just tons of great farmers markets around here, and farm stands, and even next door at the Upper Valley Food Co-op.
Right.
I love the way they label the vegetables from what farm it's
where
from.
they come from.
Yeah, that's really great.
It's a great community for people who love to raise their own vegetables or fruits. But it's an equally great community for people who don't, like me, because there's no shortage out there, and so it's a win-win situation.
Yep, absolutely. So we've got some bubbles here, and I'm going to start putting
blanch.
These in.
Is that what you said?
Blanche, that's right.
Blanche, like Blanche Dubois. Okay.
You can tell Joni's very literate.
Yes.
We just
how long do you blanch them? What
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
And put in a couple. I won't fill it up, but that's a good amount. And then when they're done, I'll just set them here to dry off, and then we'll put them in there.
All right.
So I'm going to.
What's next? What is this?
This is an eggplant.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's an eggplant.
All right.
Yeah, it's a different variety. A lot of times you see the big, dark purple ones.
Right.
I think this is actually an Asian variety. I'm not sure.
That's pretty.
But yeah, I love the shape of it, the light purple color, and I really believe that if you sort of eat the rainbow, if you get the different colors of the rainbow in your diet, you're gonna feel good, and it's gonna taste good too. So
I love that. Eat the rainbow.
Eat the rainbow. That's my motto. Every once in a while, the rainbow includes cranberry juice and something else. But,
Sure.
So as these cook, we're going to add them in and then take them out. So the next thing we're going to do is start chopping the vegetables that we're going to be sautéing.
Okay.
And, we're just going to use relatively small cuts. Actually, I think maybe since this is going into a stuffed dish, we'll
You want smaller
do that.
pieces?
Yeah.
All
That's
right. Okay. About this size, though?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The zucchini looks good.
Yes.
This was just purchased from the Upper Valley Food Co-op, too. Conveniently, a block away.
Right.
So, Suzanne, how big is your garden?
Well, it's not that big. You know, I only had I had tomatoes, eggplant, green peppers, and cucumbers.
Mm-hmm.
But what I really enjoy is growing herbs.
Oh.
And
okay.
so I have basil, thyme, oregano, lemon balm, lavender, apple mint, and there's all sorts of things you can do with herbs. You know,
Well, that's lovely.
in cooking and making your own
Right.
teas and
It's ready for sauteing.
so here, these ones you can
Thank you.
chop, and then I'm going to.
Now, is your garden a family affair? Does Robin?
Oh, my
Also,
husband? No,
yeah,
it's I guess I get moral support from the dog. She'll watch me while I'm in there. It doesn't, you know, if you put the garden close enough to your back door, it doesn't have to be a big chore, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you combine what you're growing, so if you have like a pumpkin or squash that has big leaves,
Okay.
you know, they can shade out the weeds, and you can combine that with other taller growing plants, and you know that can sort of save on time in the weeding department. You know, I think, you know, you can also buy plant starts, which means that they're the small plants that have already been grown, and you just are, you know, potting them yourself. You're
Right.
taking them out of the pot, pre-potted, and then putting them into your plot. You know, I mean, even if you don't have a backyard, you know, you can have a couple of coffee cans and, you know, grow some basil just to add a little extra something. You know, whatever it is that you like. You know, it doesn't have to be a big thing.
Yeah. It sure is nice to go out your back door and get the peppermint or to get the basil or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So
we're going to saute the zucchini, is that right? And
we're going to saute all the vegetables together. What the you heat the oil in the saucepan, which once we're done with this, we'll be able to bring it forward and have the onion, zucchini, mushrooms, and garlic, and we'll cook that. So we want to chop the onion now.
All right.
And I'm going to give you this bowl to put the zucchini in.
Is there a special reason you're using a purple,
red
onion rather?
Taste and color. I like the taste of red onions, and it adds that nice red color to the dish, purpley red.
Is there any reality to some of the remedies they say that prevent you from tearing up when you cut onions? Or
if you freeze an onion, you won't tear up.
Really?
Yep.
Well, how many people freeze their onions?
By the
time you need the onion,
I don't think red onions make people tear as much as but we'll soon find out.
We'll find out as I'm weeping over here. I have my protective goggles on. So.
That's right. So,
do you want the whole onion?
Let's see. Yep.
Okay.
And you can just slice it.
I actually love onion.
Yeah, I do too. And I've got garlic here that I'm peeling.
Yeah. I love all the stinky foods. Onion, garlic.
Yep. And
what's the origin of the name of this recipe? What
Provencal?
Yeah.
That I believe means, you know, country.
Right.
Like Provencal is a simple dish.
So was it a staple in the French countryside, or?
Yeah, I think so. Well, let's see what Julia says.
She would know.
I don't know if there's an explanation, but if anyone would have it, she would. I would say that, yeah, Provencal is usually referring to country, simple, and it may be Provence is, you know, the south of France. So Provencal would be a recipe from the south of France. So
I love knowing the history of recipes.
yeah, I do too. You know, when I saw what's this? Robert Hildebrand cook. He did this recipe that sort of had a basis from where he was from in Gloucester, Massachusetts. So it was kind of, and it was a fish recipe with salmon. It was sort of a hash, and so that historically they would kind of compete to see whose hash was pinkest.
Right.
Or, you know, it's, you know, I work at Billings Farm, and we do cooking in the historic kitchen there in the farmhouse, and that's a lot of fun too. I mean, I had never really cooked on a wood burning stove before, and so you know, it's interesting to see actually when you look at cooking historically how a lot of the foodways from the turn of the century in the 1800s are coming back, and you know. You read about people learning how to can and learning how to put food by, or even just you know, slowing down and, you know, enjoying family, and, you know, making sure you have time for, you know, a family meal. I mean, you know, I know everybody gets busy, and, you know, sometimes it's nice to say schedule a few more minutes in the morning, basically, to cut up some things and put them in the crock pot. And, you know, if you don't have time, buy some frozen vegetables that are pre-cut and throw them in, you know?
Yeah, some time savers like that. Do you want me to mix these or not?
Yep, that'd be great. Because then we're going to do onion, zucchini, and mushrooms and garlic. All together.
That's great. It's funny though, it seems like some of the trends in all the cooking shows on the Food Network anyway are about hurry, 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 30 minutes this and 30 minutes that, and that's, you know, who knows if that's just sort of what's in vogue right now, or...
You know, it's kind of interesting. I've thought a lot about where our food consumption ways have come from, and, you know, after World War II, a lot of the industry that grew up to support the war got retooled and focused on commercial food production. And, you know, you had companies like the Wonder Bread that, you know, did a wonderful marketing and, you know, basically convinced us that this lovely, fluffy white bread is, you know, the best. You can tell I'm not really a Wonder Bread fan. And, you know, I think gradually over the years we've been told through marketing that, you know, fast, simple, no commitment, just get in there, get out.
Right.
You know, if it's in a box, it's better, is the way to go. And it's just marketing. Maybe to keep us all busy so we won't think about other things.
I don't know.
But, I mean, time savers, I'm all for that. Because I think in the end, you know, you want to be able to sit down and relax, and whether it's by yourself or with, you know, a friend or a loved one, or even if you're just, you know, in a restaurant, it's nice when you can sit down and really slowly eat your food and enjoy it, as opposed to, you know, in the car.
Well, there's a lot of pressure too on parents nowadays because they're attributing the family meal to better grades and daughters being less promiscuous, and, you know, whole, kids being healthier and mentally, psychologically, and so now there's pressure to put a meal on the table, or our kids are going to be derelicts, and so you really got to help us to make this happen.
You know, I mean, that's the thing is that, I mean, you could find out you have diabetes, or, you know, be told, well, you're overweight, or you're this, you're that, you're that thing. But, you know, a lot of times nobody's told, like, how do you actually execute on getting everything done? You know, and you can just cut that down the middle and chop it.
And I keep the skin on?
You can keep the skin on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so, you know, that's, I find, you know, I like to cook. So, you know, I don't mind being in the kitchen, and I make time for it because it's something that I enjoy and I relax doing it. And I realize that not everybody likes to relax that way. And yet all of us I haven't met somebody yet, have to eat every day.
Right.
And so, you know, how you accomplish that is sort of, you know, depends on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And, you know, the other thing that I think we've talked about this before, is that, you know, this concept that eating healthy or eating organic or sort of being able to have like a nice, beautiful meal, that somehow that's, you know, only for people who have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you grow your own vegetables, you'll be eating beautiful food, and it will be for pennies versus, you know, going to the supermarket.
Right.
And, you know, so there's a balance. You can kind of find that balance between, you know, the speed to try and keep up with all of your commitments, and slowing down enough to, you know, say have a garden or, you know, take the time to go to a farmer's market. And so it's having a little steam here. We're all done with this. And
good, yeah, so we can get a facial.
I know. While we cook. Woo, who knew? More opening. So I'm just going to reach back here and get my saute pan.
Okay.
And if you'll pass me the olive oil over there.
All right.
You can even get olive oil in bulk now, you know, at the store.
Yeah.
So it makes it really easy to get a really nice oil without having to spend a lot of money, you know, because you can also, you know, mix oils, so you don't have to necessarily make a big investment. If you've never cooked with olive oil before, you know, you can get all of the sort of spices in just little baggies, and, you know, get the olive oil in a plastic tub.
Right.
So the first part here is we're going to add the onion, zucchini, and mushrooms and garlic and cook for 3 minutes. So and what I always do, no matter what, when I cook, I always change it. I can't help it. So my recipe doesn't call for eggplant, but I had a beautiful eggplant from the garden. So, and it definitely goes with this kind of food, so that's not a problem. So
you're crushing the garlic?
I'm crushing the garlic. And
are you waiting for the oil to heat up before you put them in? Or
I'm just getting it a little bit warmer. Plus I need to actually get this.
That smells good.
Does it?
Yeah. That's the garlic.
Yep.
It's wonderful.
So I'm just going to go ahead and...
Okay. I can just throw that in the pan separately if you don't want it to overflow.
That's good.
Not at all.
All right.
That's one thing I do when I cook. If it calls for garlic, I usually triple the amount. So everything I cook tastes the same because it all has so much garlic in it. Want me to throw these in? This is pretty. I like this eggplant.
Yeah.
Do you want
to put it in there?
Okay.
Yeah.
Smell it already. Okay.
So, and you know, sometimes, you know, you just don't have what you think you had.
Right.
So, for example, I don't have a mixing spoon right now. So I'm just going to use this knife for the moment because it's not really the best knife anyways. I'm not going to worry about it. And, you know, that's a lot of times people think, and could you put those in there?
Yes, absolutely.
That you need some fancy gadget, you know, or what really kills me is those recipes, those cookbooks that call for all these exotic ingredients and, you know, fancy tools like this blender and that immersion thing and this chopper and you know, you can make really delicious food and not have to go out and buy a lot of different gadgets. Although I'm the first one to, you know, enjoy gadget shopping.
My friend is actually the gadget tester for Good Morning America.
Really?
Yeah, and so I get like hundreds.
I bet. Submissions?
Are sent to them, and then they send them to her to test. It's Sarah Moulton, who was on the Food Network.
Wow.
So she was complaining that so many of them were just useless or not necessary, but the one she liked when I was talking to her last was the teaspoon measure, where I guess it's just you click it and it instantly measures a teaspoon.
Ooh.
And then there was a butter baller or something. But most of them she thought were a little extreme.
Huh.
But it was interesting to hear some of the ideas that were said. How many gadgets do you need? How would you like these cubed or?
The tomatoes are actually, you know what? We don't even need to use those.
All right.
Because one of the things I did, these are tomatoes that I grew, that I oven dry roasted.
Wow.
Because I was just like looking at them thinking, oh my God, they're going to explode. So I didn't want to lose out
Too many tomatoes in the garden?
Yep, and so we're just going to add these in.
They look nice. How many tomato plants do you have?
Just 2.
Just 2, but they
they were very productive.
Yeah. That's the big debate. Is a tomato a fruit or a vegetable?
I don't know. Not sure where I fall on that.
I know, it's a big controversy, isn't it, among you chefs. So.
And then if you pass me the tomato paste over there.
Okay.
Just a little sun-dried tomato paste.
Is that just going to make it a little thicker? Or?
Yep.
Okay.
Just a tablespoon.
Oh, that looks so good. That would be a good dish right there.
Right, and you could stop there. And
yeah.
This actually won't have any meat in it. This will have some pine nuts. I think they're over there.
Oh yes, here.
Yep.
Get them.
And some cheddar cheese, some shredded cheddar cheese.
Oh, that's right here.
And it's right there. And so we're just going to let this cook.
Okay.
For a little bit.
And I thought you were going to make a pesto when I
saw
your pine nuts. Isn't that what you?
Yeah, you do make
pesto
with pine nuts. You can with like a basil or cilantro and pine nuts and garlic and olive oil and Parmesan cheese. But this adds a little more protein. Like if you were having someone for dinner who's a vegetarian, you could serve this with pine nuts. Although, there are people that eat dairy and don't eat dairy when you start getting into that vegetarian. So
those are the people you don't ask for dinner. At least at the same time.
Well, so, I have one dish that could be a main dish for a vegetarian.
Right.
And I have the pork that's simmering away at home, and that, that'll satisfy my meat-eating husband and all those other guests that enjoy meat. So there are ways around that, and, I'm finding that more and more people are having sort of food allergy issues, and so it is challenging sometimes to make sure you meet all the dietary requirements of the different
It's fun
people.
though. My daughter wants to be a vegetarian, and she's really trying, and so I've discovered a lot of good vegetarian recipes, and it's actually made me lean more towards that. It's fun.
It is, and even if you, I think sometimes in our culture, we think of that big plate, big slab of meat, and and for some people that's really daunting.
Yeah.
And if you were to just chop little bits of meat and add it as a seasoning, you would still get the benefit of the protein without feeling like your stomach was going to be going through World War II. So and there are other ways, like we go to restaurants and they serve us cold water. And cold water actually slows down your digestion.
Huh. I had no idea.
Yeah. So if you...
That explains it.
Think about it. You go out to dinner, this big, huge meal, and you're like, okay, give me that water to put out my digestive fire. So then I really have a hard time getting through this food.
Okay.
So...
It's a new diet, just the warm water diet.
Right.
Don't
you
drink
can
cold
add a
water.
little cider vinegar to your water. Actually, if you pass me that bottle right there. This is my new favorite thing. It's called fire cider vinegar.
Oh my goodness.
And you can make this at home. It's really simple. A friend of mine made it. And it has apple cider vinegar, horseradish, garlic, onion, fresh ginger root, honey. And it's great, like, if you're feeling like you need, your digestion is slow, or you want to, I add this to my salad dressings. Add a little zip.
Yeah.
But sometimes in the morning, I'll have just a teaspoon of that in warm water. But right now, I'm just going to add a little bit.
It does smell like a good salad dressing.
To my tomato juice.
So you are like Julia Child, only she was tippling with wine a little more than
this
potion, but
she was filming at night. I still have to drive home.
That's right.
So let's just review the menu that we've got going here. I have already cooking at home. a
Okay.
slow-cooked pork roast with pear ginger marinade.
All right.
And I don't know if we talked about that yet.
The marinade?
We talked about searing the
Right,
pork,
right.
right? And you just salt and pepper it before
Okay.
you put that into the pan in olive oil, and then you put that seared pork into the crock pot,
Okay.
and then you pour your marinade over it. I chose a ginger pear salad dressing. But this original recipe called for orange and ginger. And it was just
Okay.
simple orange juice with grated ginger. And then you put the cover on and let it cook on low for 6 to 7 hours. It's really
So
simple.
It's just marinating in that.
Yep, it's just cooking juices.
Right. Right.
And then we're going to have the stuffed peppers, which we're making right now. And when we get home tonight, I'm going to make some salsa, some homemade salsa. That's another great way to use up your
Yes.
garden tomatoes.
Right.
And
one of my writing classes was the beneficiary of your homemade salsa.
That's right. That's right. That's
That
been a
was
lot of
wonderful.
fun.
Yeah,
You know,
it was
sort
great.
of exercising my cooking, muscles.
Yeah.
Feeding your writing group.
Yeah, well, they're hungry and more than willing to do you this favor.
Yes, yes. And then, I think I'll probably finish with a green salad with some cranberries and walnuts
Okay.
and goat cheese.
Wow.
And you were so kind to get me that dark chocolate. We'll have
Oh,
that
yeah.
for dessert with some candied ginger and
There's a lot of dark chocolate pieces over there.
yeah, maybe some vanilla ice cream with a little bit of peppermint on it. And of course,
I'm going to
bread
try not to
and
eat
cheese.
a bite until then because it's too good not to come in really hungry.
Yeah. So I'm just going to show you. This should be really interesting since I don't have a spoon. But basically, you would be then scooping the vegetables into the peppers.
Okay.
And you want to try and get a little bit of everything.
Okay.
And then you would be putting it into the pan.
Pretty.
Yep. And that cooks for, I think it's 20 minutes.
You're
Yep.
going to bake it in the
You
oven?
bake it
Okay.
at 350 in an oven for 20 minutes, and then you cover it with tin foil. So make sure your tin foil, you cover it up. And then after the 20 minutes, you take it out, and you take, you passing that cheese?
Yeah.
Take some grated cheese. This is some local cheddar
Medium sharp.
from Rally's,
Yeah.
and it's delicious. And you just grate that up, and I would grate it into a bowl first, and then sprinkle it on each stuffed pepper. Put it back into the oven, let it go for another 5 or 10 minutes, and then the cheese will be bubbling and be delicious.
Wow.
And you can actually,
That's a lovely dish.
what's
That
great
is
about this
lovely.
dish, I've done this before, is I've blanched the peppers like the night before.
Mm-hmm.
And then gotten up in the morning. You could even slow cook these vegetables
Okay.
in a crock pot, for several hours. And then assemble, and I've actually assembled up to the point of everything in it but the cheese, and then just had it wait until,
bake it later.
Right before when I came home, turn on the oven, 20
Okay.
minutes later, 25 minutes, you're done.
Wow. What
So,
a lovely dish.
Yeah.
A new take on stuffed peppers.
That's right.
Because we sort of grew up with stuffed peppers with
Right.
the rice and hamburger.
Burger,
and-
exactly.
Which is nice, but this
Right.
is a little
Campbell
bit more
soup.
modern.
Yep. So,
Wonderful.
thank you, Joni, for
Thank you.
joining me, and thank all of you for coming in to see a sneak peek at the Full Moon Supper Club, and we'll be back the next full moon.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.